Hello and welcome to the World Puja Network. This is Dr. Jan Bravo. I'm here today to speak more about SIRIUS technology and research and the SIRIUS documentary. My guest today is Amardeep Kaleka. He is the wonderful founder of Never Ending Light Productions and the film company that's going to produce this film. We've just had a great week out in Los Angeles. Both Dr. Greer and myself were there with Amardeep's team, and we have a lot to tell you about. We're very excited about the project, and we have a lot of updates. Amardeep, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Dr. Bravo. And Amardeep actually means never-ending light, but most people just end up calling me Arm for the sake of time. So feel free, Dr. Bravo, to just call me Arm.
Will do. Will do. I was just mentioning what a wonderful week we just had out in Los Angeles. We met with all of your team. I would like to ask you to bring a little bit of your philosophy of Never Ending Light Productions, because it really blends in with what we're trying to do with this film, which is why we are working together are such a good team.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Last time Dr. Greer and I spoke about the history with me and filmmaking and moving into that realm. I'll kind of expound a little, because for me, filmmaking is essentially like writing. It is the next step in terms of communication or mass communication. And a lot of times, and maybe if we were doing this project, let's say in the 1700s or 1800s, we'd be collaborating on a book or a memoir or something to mass produce and communicate. Nowadays, it's the partnership between internet and film and media, because a lot of times people go to a website, the first thing they do is hit play on a video. So that, for us, having that background or knowing that this is part of that mass communication, I guess the creme de la creme rises to the top. And for Never Ending Light, I've started to notice that no matter how many projects you do, and we've done probably like 60 over the past 3 years, you start, certain projects resonate with you, and they're usually the ones that have the cliche light at the end of the tunnel, or something very uplifting, or something hopeful, or something. I can't tell you how many times, Dr. Bravo, I get pitched a drug dealer from Chicago who's X, Y, and Z goes out and murders this guy, and that's the film. And I'm like, wow, I can't do that. Those projects don't resonate with me. Over time, that won't be cream that rises to the top in terms of my memory or, the stuff I want to leave here as a legacy on this earth for my children and for my, the people that are around me, the family and friends.
Understood. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That makes a lot of sense. And actually, as we have on the site, and let me go ahead and give the URL again, to find us and to find the SIRIUS project, SIRIUS, like the star, if one goes to Kickstarter.com, correct, Arm?
Yeah, Kickstarter.com, and then you can type in SIRIUS at the top and you'll get our project.
Yes, there's a lot of information. There's information about what we're doing and what you said about videos. You've already started with videos of Dr. Greer, of you, which tell the story of what we're going to be doing. Now, there are 3 parts to this documentary, again, that of disclosure, the witnesses to energy devices and suppression, and ET contact. There's a lot of information that Dr. Greer has already put out, starting with basically the 2001 conference.
Yeah.
He had it at the Press Club, the National Press Club in Washington, and this has opened up so many other entities to give their information, including several governments around the world. As you know, ARM have released their information about UFOs and contacts. Really, they're military and deep, important sightings and documents. There are, just to say what is brought to the project, first of all, is particularly on Dr. Greer's behalf, 22 years of his work into this issue, into the contact issue, disclosure of what has happened in the past and what is happening now. with extraterrestrial contact. Actually, what we are doing with CSETI, the Citizen Ambassador Group, and then also, and very importantly, and something that affects everyone specifically on Earth, the new energy sources that have been suppressed, that have been produced and suppressed, and that are continuing to be produced and suppressed even to this day.
Yes.
And all of this, all the information we have, we're bringing to this. And Dr. Greer is, as you know, one of the most knowledgeable people in the world on these issues. And he has briefed people all over the world. He's briefed royalty. He's briefed many people in Congress.
CIA,
former CIA directors and sitting CIA directors. All of this has been written about and mentioned, and he has so much knowledge to bring to this that we're so glad that we can put it in a documentary and really have greater reach.
Absolutely. And what I always urge people to do, and I mean I know you guys do the same, is there's 4 books out. Dr. Greer expounds a lot in those books and gets you the information. Currently, we're in concept phase for the documentary, and I'm going through a lot of research and development and getting the ideas down. And the more I realize that it's a vast story. It's a humongous project, and it can go on for a long time in terms of people researching and searching for the information that they want. If they're really fascinated with new energy, or they're fascinated with the science behind a lot of technological advances, this is a place to start, because a lot of this disclosure information has those documents alongside, and most of those people that are in that field know of Dr. Greer's work because he's linked them to a number of things that they didn't have access to before, and he always says this, right? One of the greatest stories never told, and I could see why, because to some people, to the average person who's been indoctrinated with information that is, I guess, false. I'm gonna say that the easiest way I can. A lot of this stuff looks like farce, or it's a story too extreme to be real, and that's only because people's perspectives have been shifted that way, and we all have to kind of think back to what things have shifted our perspective that way, whether it be modern education or the media the way it is, or large groups in terms of organized religion or organized government. A lot of times they're shifting our perspective and taking the curiosity out of us. And I want to instill that curiosity back into people who watch the film. I want it to spike their curiosity. I want them to have a childlike quality when they walk away from this and go, whoa, I didn't know that could possibly have happened. Let me go look at that. Let me go research that. So this film is kind of like a lightning rod, or the tip of the iceberg to a whole slew of information that'll just you could wrap your mind around it, and it'll just fascinate you for years to come.
That makes a lot of sense. Actually, you mentioned something important, all this information. We talk about all this information, but one thing that's important to know is how seriously Dr. Greer vets his witnesses and those who give him information. I think we spoke in detail with you when we were there with your team about how important that is. We don't go on hearsay. We don't go on one guy said. As you know, with the witnesses in the Disclosure Project, they all showed what was called their DD-214, their release papers from the military, which states that they were there, where they were, what their position was, what their clearance was. All these things are very important, as you know, as a filmmaker. Your sources are important because you're telling a true story. And all of this is being brought to the documentary. And interestingly, just from the SIRIUS Tide, just to tell a little bit what our team is bringing, I've already mentioned Dr. Greer's 22 years of experience. Much has been written out, but much has not. There's not been time or room or place. We've needed something like this forum to present this material, and there's a lot that will be presented. And interestingly, we have a lot more there have been new people coming forward, and we're adding to our cache of information. There are many people who are being vetted at this time to make sure the information is real that may make the deadline to make this film. Dr. Ted Loder, as many people know, has been a big part in helping with disclosure. In fact, he took a year off to spend working on these energy issues and following and studying and finding what was out there. In fact, he visited the people who held the remnants of the Stan Meyer materials, and he saw a great deal of information there. And Dr. Loder will be a part of this documentary because he has much more new information to say. Other people on our team, we have a wonderful individual named Jack Allman who has been doing our filming at our CSETI conferences when we make contact. And we have a great deal of videos and much more information to bring out. Jack took the time, and again, this is all a volunteer effort. He took the time to learn Final Cut Pro to be able to present these videos. And we video 4 to 4.5 hours per night of field work when we are out on expedition. And this takes a lot of time. I think you can vouch for that, Arm, to go through. And, in fact, we have to because so many things happen so quickly. They happen in a fraction of a second that Jack has to go through each of these compendiums of digital recording frame by frame. And it takes many hours. If you can imagine 6 nights, 4.5 hours, and 2 cameras. That's a lot.
I want people to understand, and I keep getting this question. A lot of I'll say mainstream people keep saying to me, well, obviously if they've been up there, we would know by now. And I want everybody at one point throughout the night to go out, and the way the human eye works is we're only able to focus on about, let's say, 10 degrees of your, 190 or 170 degrees that you can see with your peripheral vision. We're pretty spot-focused human or spot-focused animal. So I want everybody to go out at some point and look up at the sky. And to be honest, even if we had all 6 billion humans out there going outside in the nighttime and looking up at the sky, we're only going to cover a certain amount of time and only certainly a certain amount of space. We won't be able to view the whole area. And then when we're talking about levels of, how far you can actually see, I mean, cameras, humans, there's definitely a reason why it's hard to get this stuff on camera or hard to really get compelling evidence. It's because we don't have the technology yet to work in the dimensions that we need them to work. And the other day when you guys were here, we tried to bring you into a very private meeting about a prototype camera that's going to go out on the market that the military is using in terms of covering the wide number of degrees and being able to pick up low light sensitivity. And that technology, I mean, even with that, we're only going to be able to do so much. So my hats are off to anybody out there attempting to capture this stuff, especially your team, because you guys have been doing it systematically and keeping and logging notes so systematically that they're precise and work backwards on it.
Well, that's a good point, all you've said. However, let's add, and you'll see this when you come out on expedition with us, which we're very excited that you're going to be doing. What what Dr. Greer has done over the years has developed the protocols to make contact. And when we go out as a group, we are a group that is going out coherently using specific protocols, which we have on the CSETI website, okay, that people can access. And there is an art to it because of the way contact is made. We are opening ourselves up as peaceful ambassadors to make contact. And when a group does it, that is heightened. If everyone does it with the correct intention.
Yeah.
So that's now, besides that, and what's been fascinating is the cameras have gotten better, and over the years, our evidence has gotten better. You make a very good point. And now there are 25 megapixel cameras. In fact, one of our members, Emory, who is a wonderful person, both in terms of someone being really coherent and making great contact, being there for the right reasons, and also a photographer with excellent skills, has gotten some amazing things because he has tuned in to what's happening. He's used the protocols correctly, and he has excellent equipment. So it's not just something that's just going to happen because someone says, okay, fly down, show me what you're doing. It is a real coordinated event, and that we are reaching out, and when we reach out peacefully with the correct intention and with these protocols that really just help us know how to do it, that Dr. Greer has really given us a great deal of information about. We have him to thank for that. Then contact can be made. Yeah. And I hope that explains it, because there is really a lot to it, but a lot of it is the intention. And we've had letters from all over, from people. It's been really gratifying, I have to say, Arm, from this point of view, from people who say, oh, my goodness, I just found the meditations on your website and used this and did this in the same spirit, really followed the protocols. As an ambassador would if greeting someone from another country. Everyone has, certain ways to be and to make sure that you're presenting yourself properly and with the right intention. Well, it's the same thing for ETs. It would be the same thing for people from Spain. It would be the same thing from people from across the street. You want to present yourself with the correct intention, correct? That's when people open up to you. Well, these are just people from farther away than across the street or Spain.
Absolutely. And I think I'll share with you just an anecdote. One of our producers, because one of the first things we did was, okay, let's do these protocols. Let's, as a group, go out. And immediately the first night she did the protocol, and I mean, she told me, because you can download the app on the iTunes store, and I want people to know it's that easy. Like, well, let me work backwards.
Okay.
It's just like anything. It takes practice. Obviously, it's just like working out. You want to really be a good basketball player? Well, obviously, you got to practice on it. But I'm saying it's just that easy to start getting the tools. Go in the iTunes store, download the app. I believe it's under CSETI. It's $6, which isn't a humongous fee, and I know it's the fee that you guys need to charge to keep everything going. And she took that app out, and I took the app out as well separately. But it has a lot of the tones. It has the Fibonacci sequence. It has a ton of things to teach you, and you start doing it and start listening to the visual meditation. And even after the visual meditation was done, she was really honing in on the aspect of understanding. When I see your guys' the three circles in the CSETI logo, she was meditating on that, just continuously meditating and understanding, just like there's you, Dr. Bravo, on the phone, there's me, Amardeep Kaleka, on the phone, and then there's a third person. There's somebody listening, and that person is listening right now. That's a triangle, and that triangle is creating this synergy and creating this ability for us to communicate, even if it's through an electronic signal like this phone. But now let's hone that and say that electronic signal has always been in us and in our mind. And we've been able to do this for thousands of years, and maybe in ancient past people knew how to do this. But right now, we can start working that out again. And she did it, and even after the meditation was done, she recited back to me. I even videotaped her immediately when she, screen chatted with me, and she was like, I am just blown out of my mind because I just saw 3 encounters, and she specifically told me what they were and why they were there, and the 3 stars she was focusing in on, and it's amazing. I'm a third person. I'm an objective person. I'm part of the SIRIUS project, but I'm objective in the fact that I'm an investigator more than I am. As a filmmaker, I'm an investigator. I want to know. I want to know more information. I want to see this. And when my producer came back, I could see it in her face, like if she was changed. And she'll probably be changed for the rest of her life because that's opens wonderful. Up a channel,
Yeah. That's really wonderful. Thank you for sharing that story. And I will say, having mentioned the app, the interesting thing is that some people think, they have to go on an expedition. No, they don't have to travel anywhere. $6.99 is what the app is, and for that, we've put all this information on there. So in the scheme of things, we want people to experience this now, as soon as possible, whenever they're ready. So you don't have to leave your home to do this. The information is there. And thank you for sharing that story. A lot of people have written some wonderful letters with the same thing in their experiences, and we always appreciate hearing it. So I'm glad to hear that. That's a new story for me.
Oh, no, definitely. And I think the other thing is, when she told me that, I knew she was. You start belonging to a community then, and I noticed this with you guys when we were out in LA, and we met a ton of people, some industry professionals and some different people. Like I'll just say it like that, some people that were outside our industry. But what was amazing was they had this approach where they've all witnessed or connected to something that was that third party. And from that, they were able to communicate at a level that was just slightly different, but they were able to communicate effectively, and they became part of a Sangha. And a lot of what I've witnessed...
Would you explain what a Sangha is?
Oh, sure. I'm Indian by tradition, and culturally I'm Indian. I was born in India under the foothills of the Himalayas in northern Punjab. And a Sangha for us is a group. So and what a Sangat or a Sangha is a group that meditates together, specifically at temples, mandirs, churches. All these Sanghas are constantly, and there's a guru usually, there's a teacher or there's a person who's kind of channeling the energy, and then the Sangha is sitting there meditating in that same. And sometimes the guru is just a book. Sometimes the guru is a thought, an idea, it's a vehicle, and then everybody meditates towards that. So that's a Sangha. And so when I use that word, I've started to notice that with the SIRIUS project, that there is a group, there is a Sangha that's forming. And it's the same with political parties or education or classes. We as humans tend to form groups which help us because primarily in our instinct, we know that the numbers help us survive. If you took a child away from everything it knows and just put it down by itself, it's probably not going to survive. So our first Sangha is family, and then we start growing into these other social groups. And essentially, this Sangha is really, really strong, and I just want to repeat that because I've never seen a crowd-funded film with this much success in such little time, and I think it should be applauded and sent out to the world and beamed all over and saying, look, there's a lot of people who have this question or have this burning desire to know or this curiosity. Since that is there, we must examine, whether it be this documentary or whether it be a professor sitting in an astrophysics lab somewhere. You need to examine, you need to search, because if this many people out there are looking for the answers, let's give it to them. Let's find these answers. And some of them have already been found. It's just a matter of re-examining or researching. The word research is funny because you're searching again.
Right, right. No, that's true. That's true. For something's there, you're really discovering something. Yes, no, thank you for that. Actually, speaking again of the production, I think you were impressed with some of the people who came out. A gentleman who brought very much information on the energy topic, devices and suppression, and he's going to open up his whole cache of information to you, and we'll be going over that. There will be information in the documentary on this, and we, of course, know many people. Of course, Dr. Loader has been all around on this issue through the Orion Project and past, even before that. And then Dr. Greer is, of course, very knowledgeable on that subject. So we're very excited because we hope this moves people to help do things to lift the suppression, to help more people come forward who have devices and have had devices and can make devices to do so. And as you know, what we really hope to do with any proceeds from this documentary is put that into building our own facility to make an energy device, from bringing together all the scientists that have agreed to work for us. If we have a place where there's safety, strategically safe, and we have the funding. So that's probably the most important, exciting point of this, besides educating many people, really all over the world. And it's also to give people hope. It's not just to tell what has been, but again, it's to say what can be. So this is going to be a very hopeful documentary, actually, very educational and also very hopeful.
Yeah, and when you said that, it reminded me of the Green Bay Packers. And I always, and the Green Bay Packers and the Bears, and a lot of you guys you might be foreign listening to this, but let me tell you, American football is, and by American football I mean like the tackle and throw the ball kind of football, not soccer. The Packers and the Bears have a rivalry that is akin to the French and the British. Okay, it's akin to every rivalry you've ever seen. We're two little areas in the Midwest, and I come from Wisconsin after India.
Okay. And I was wondering where that
came from. I'm a Packer fan. But the reason I bring it up is the other day I convinced a Bear fan at an airport to switch into a Packers fan. And the Chicago Bears, Chicago's a big city, has about 10 million people in its Chicagoland area. And Green Bay is a very small city of only a couple 100,000 people. Yet the Packers have won in the last, 6-7 years a Super Bowl and have been very successful over the past 10 years. And I said to him, I said, look, for one reason you should be a Packers fan. The one reason is every other major sports team in all of American sports, whether it be basketball, football, baseball, hockey, none of them are owned by their community except for the Green Bay Packers. And he just dropped his jaw, and he goes, is that a fact? I said, yeah, look it up if you want. It's a fact. This is the only way an organization in a city of only a couple 100,000 people can compete against a New York team or a Chicago team. And for that very fact, when you look at Green Bay, it's a bunch of blue-collar people working, they work in a factory and they come home, and all they did was they put their money together. They pooled it together to buy this team and franchise. And they're the only team. And I think of the SIRIUS project that way because it needs to be a tight-knit group of people. Otherwise, there might be infiltration and these other parties coming through and kind of controlling the situation. With the Packers, it's very, very similar. They're able to succeed because they're small, because they're a tight-knit group of people. And I couldn't believe I convinced a Bears fan to become a Packers fan. But in the same way with SIRIUS, the proceeds for this film, because it's crowdfunded, and maybe I should back up a little and just explain to people how film investment works or how most projects actually get built. Mm-hmm. So most projects get built with what we call a 50-50 split. a team makes a project, but they get financed by another team. And that financing could come from anybody. It could come from most studios. People don't know this, whether it be Disney, Fox. They're usually backed by a corporate entity, a Fortune 500 or a Fortune 20 company. AOL Time Warner owns CNN. I can go, the list goes down, and News Corp owns Fox. So all that financing is coming from one arm, and they own half of the project. And usually 51%, because they need to have that majority ownership. The rest of the studios, whether you look at Fox or whatever, it's a group of creative people putting together a project. But the people who own the 51% get to demand what that project is. And that means you're going to see X-Men 17 times. You're going to see the same type of films that that want to indoctrinate you, they're going to show you. You're going to see that. In this situation, which is completely different, we're a crowd-funded film. We're funded by the people who are, they themselves, either pre-ordering the DVD, which is a simple thing. It's like $11, and they're saying, well, I want the DVD first, or I want to be able to watch it online first. Or they're going further, and they're getting other incentives for funding this project, but their agenda is free and clear. Their agenda is truth. And that is what's amazing about this project, because at the end of the day, when profit is made, it can all be funneled towards serious technology and research, which is the safe haven for a group of, your guys' vision, which you can expound on. And that's right. Where it's going to go. And I want every audience member to understand that. There's no secrecy in that. This is a very transparent process. In fact, our last update video was just to show you guys how transparent we want to be. We want to show you every step along the way. We want you guys to understand how we're getting the information and where the information is coming from, so you can trace it back yourself, and that curiosity is piqued, and you're able to find the hours and hours and hours of literature and hundreds of weeks of information that have been hidden for so long.
That's such an important point, and I appreciate mostly what you said about transparency, and showing people along the way what's happening is really important. And thank you for keeping up with those videos. I think it's going to get more exciting as we go along. Absolutely. But it is important for people to know that because of this wonderful team that came to us in the form of Amardeep, we can now tell the truth. Other studios or people who approached Dr. Greer always wanted to change the story. They wanted to leave something out. They wanted to make it scary. They wanted to actually continue a lot of the disinformation. This is why this hasn't been done by our group before or by Dr. Greer before, because he wanted it to be a clean project. And we are so comfortable and so happy with our understanding with Never Ending Light. And so far, that's the path we're on, and we intend to stay on. And when we do, should we reach this wonderful goal and make this film and bring it out, we intend to move on. And the good news is all the people who have supported it will have been part of that, will be kept informed. And when we can start a company to bring out the energy devices to really help move this world off coal and oil, then everyone will be a part of it. We'll be able to shine a big spotlight, because it won't just be us trying to push it and do it. It will be everyone out there who supported it, and you will be kept informed of it. And that's what all of this is about. Really bringing people together to work with us, because it's been a long road for Dr. Greer. It's been 22 years, but he's given up his career as practicing as a medical physician, as I have, so that we can do this, take care of the world, really help the world in our way, as everyone who is contributing is helping, right? So people may ask, well, why are all these funds needed? I'm sure it's difficult to explain often. specifics, but we can tell you. I mean, we're glad to, but there's travel involved. There is getting archives, going through all the archives, having people to help with this. We also have some wonderful, again, volunteers on this, as I've mentioned, and we're going forward. Amardeep, I seem to have lost Mr. Kaleka on the phone call, so I will continue. I'm going to give the URL again. Again, if you go to Kickstarter.com and type in SIRIUS, SIRIUS, you will reach our page. So continuing, as I mentioned, everyone is a part of this. So when you give something, really, your gift is multiplied because we're already bringing a great treasure trove of information. As I say, Dr. Greer's 22 years of information to this project, but we're able to get more, and we really appreciate it. And, of course, ARM can explain that, you know, filmmaking does take resources to move people around, and you may have other information you want to give, but it's well worth it.
Well, I had an interesting question that came across. One of them was somebody who said, why don't you just make this film for no money and get it out there as fast as possible and use some creative methodology like a pay-per-view, pay-per-click. And I always have to remind people that it takes a lot of time and effort to do what we do, and takes a lot of experience and expertise. And I know that everybody, it's kind of hard to say this to people because there's so many cameras out there that are just very consumer friendly. Like people can pick up the camera and then shoot a YouTube video that goes viral. But I tell you right now, I've had to consult on many, many committees where I had to explain what a viral video is and how to make a viral video for Fortune 500 companies. And I mean, in short, I'll just sum up my whole lectures there. Viral videos either are they're just gold. Like there's something that got shot that not necessarily could have been shot. I watched a viral video the other day where a dog actually made a kitchen sink explode on accident, and it got shot on accident. And that's a viral video. But when you're doing something that is premeditated or organized, you need a number of resources to do this. And first and foremost, it's the ability to think through the concept and conceptualize how a project is actually going to move people or be successful. Obviously, we can make a film and it could be a 70-hour film and we just shoot everything and we send everything out there, but how many people in the world are going to watch a 70-hour film that's not edited or controlled? I doubt it. And
right.
Most importantly, our marketplace has always shown a 2-hour film does certain things to the viewer and moves you in a certain way to get more information, and that takes a lot of resources, from editing suites to conceptualization to the proper camera work to the proper interview style. And many of you journalists out there would understand this. You have to ask the right questions to get the right answers and response. It can't just be somebody expounding on their philosophy and theory, and then you're going to be able to edit that correctly later. It's not like that. In short, it's about getting the proper answer to fit where it needs to go in the concept. And the concept is also vetted. It's also controlled. In this case, we always go to the authority and we go, okay, what does the truth and evidence suggest? We don't want to suggest otherwise. And if we are going out on a limb, we'll remind you as a viewer, we're going out on a limb. Please, go with us, and then we'll travel back to the root evidence. And that's all in the rhetoric or the words used. So to answer that question of why it can't be made for no money is, there's hard costs always, whether it's hard drives to buy to store the information on, whether it be travel, whether it be time. These are hard costs. Food to feed people. And the other big hard cost that I want to remind people about is distribution in the way that it is now. If you're going to do an independent distribution push, you have to have that in mind. You have to have the ability to build the website, to create the social media content that pushes through and gets your film seen versus the 9,000 other films in the world that never get seen. And we had Never Ending Lights. We try to understand that. I'm not going to say we're not Fox Studios. We try to understand it. We're successful in some ways, but we're never going to get so confident and cocky that we're not going to stop learning. We really want to learn that methodology, and this is a great project to do this on.
Yeah, well, if you were Fox Studios, we wouldn't be getting this done. It would be suppressed.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point. We want something of value that people can look at for some time to come and continue to pass on to people, and people will be mesmerized by, to be honest. We have a lot to say, but anyone who's listened to Dr. Greer knows specifically that he can say a lot in a few sentences and be on message. And that's what we're going to do. We're not going to waste people's time. We are really going to say as much as we can and tell as much as we can and give as much information as we can and as much evidence as we can in this film. Yeah. And go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. It reminds me a lot about the way I came into the studio business in terms of just seeing what projects get greenlit and what don't. One of my first projects had to do with the war in Sierra Leone. And if many of you have seen the film City of God, it's a very graphic illustration of what happens in Rio de Janeiro. And I was doing a film on Sierra Leone, and I remember competing against another script called Blood Diamond. And my film was completely different in the fact that it took place in that area, but I remember feeling the yank on my creative bone when they selected to do that film, which was a very, westernized, a very simplistic version of what actually was happening at the same time. And what's interesting is Charles Taylor's being tried today for his involvement in Sierra Leone, and he was the Liberian president at the time that fueled a revolution that killed. We're talking about 65,000 people in a matter of 18 months. So it's no small thing that happened on our planet that not many people know about.
Right.
But it's interesting because mass media had the ability to shed some light on it. They chose not to.
Right. Well, we're between us. Hopefully, we'll get everyone who wishes to be enlightened and learn about this. And I think we can. We're pretty excited. There are many ways to market this, but the main way is just a way that it's easily accessible. And we will be having premieres all over the world, actually, is our plan, where people can come and view this film, and then we'll see from there.
Absolutely.
And anyway, there's so much to say and so much to tell. It's just so exciting. We have so much information. We brought out to your team, ARM, hours of testimony, and that's something that speaks to just the work it takes to do this. From the hours and hours of testimony, you're going to bring out bits of it, the most important bits, even though there's a lot of information. Out of 100 hours, there will be snippets, and the most important thing is what will be in the film. And then everyone will, of course, have access as we put more information out on YouTube and other sources. So we are going to get, again, as many videos out as we can, but right now our focus is on this documentary because we want to draw the story together and want to get it to everyone.
Absolutely. It's a hard, I would tell people that it's a hard connection, meaning people have been confounded and confused for so long that it's hard to connect these dots, and we have to do it in one place at a documentary level so that we can connect the dots that people get and understand how it all fits together So then when they're searching with their spotlight, when they're searching with their minds, they're able to find the right things on the internet to get them the information that they need, and they can vet it. We're vetting it. It's constantly a weekend, but they also can look through stuff and go, okay, that makes sense. So I think this documentary is the pinnacle of this project. So it'll be the crown jewel that kind of sends people forward.
Yeah, it's a big start, and often people need, as we've heard often, everyone wants to be first to be second. If someone else will go out first, say all the witnesses who are so brave, those first witnesses that we had opened up more witnesses, opened up countries to opening their archives, especially on the new energy. More people will be able to come out. We know there are people who have done this work but have been intimidated, and the work has been suppressed. We want everyone who can to bring their knowledge and be protected in this. And if we can be on the forward edge of opening up people's mind and actually opening up people to the truth, then other people will step forward. And, in fact, if other people bring out energy devices, fabulous. If there's anyone who can get us, into sustainable energy for the whole world, we're ready for it right now. We are absolutely ready.
Absolutely. And some of those are small steps, like just disproving the second law of thermodynamics, or just doing certain things. Like, the more you guys search this stuff out, the people who are listening, it's almost like when Disclosure Project called for witnesses, we have to piece the story back together by human witnesses and put it back together. And sometimes it won't be as big as just a prototype sitting out there on somebody's shelf ready to go. It might be small things and snippets and steps along the way. So please, the more scientists that are out there that are listening to this, please try to piece these things together or bring them in. And it's very similar to the Disclosure Project in that way. Is once we have 100 people in one room doing a press conference, that's going to be an amazing time. And it was more than 100 people. I think it was 1,000 people or 600 people. But if we can get that, if we can find that at the end of this, then we've done our job right.
Good point. And I do want to make one comment. It's not so much specifically disproving the second law of thermodynamics. It's expanding it to explain what is going on with what has actually been developed, because things are just discovered. They're not really created. Scientists discover all along the way that, we were in Newtonian physics for a long time, and then, Einstein came along, and then quantum physics was discovered. No one really invented it. So it's just a matter of understanding what the real laws of nature are and expanding the laws of nature and understanding how things work. And it's quite fascinating, and we will have a lot of information about this. And actually, to me, I'm so excited about that. So, but again, as he said, it takes travel. It takes people being willing to share, and we really honor the people who are willing to share with us, because they know, first of all, how important it is, but second, there is some threat to them. So we really honor everyone coming together, and we hope to make a safe place and a safe haven for people to come forward. And anyone who does have any information that you wish to share with us, if you will, you can contact the SIRIUS site or the Disclosure Project at www.disclosureproject.org, and we'll be happy to see what information you have and what we can do to help vet it.
Absolutely. Well, and in case you guys missed the SIRIUS.neverendinglight.com address, the SIRIUS is SIRIUS, just like the star system, and neverendinglight.com is all one word. Please join us and check it out. And you might be wondering what we're talking about, which documentary. I hope not. If you are, start there.
Actually, if you keep checking the site, you'll keep seeing the updates as they occur. And we welcome anyone who is just interested to please check the site and see what's going on, because we will continue to update you as we progress. So have you any other comments? I think we're about there, Arm. Any final comments that you would like to give?
Well, I just let me apologize to the audience in terms of we were on a landline, but it seemed to have cut me off, and I hope all is well when they re-edit this together.
Okay. Okay. Well, I want to thank the people at World Puja Network. You folks are wonderful. You spread a lot of good energy around the world. And we just want to thank you for giving us this time to speak. Amardeep, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure speaking with you here today. And I want to thank everyone who's tuned in. And as Dr. Greer always says, keep looking up. Thanks a lot.